All right, we are live. Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone from Skinny Secrets. I have my awesome friend here today, this morning, and we were just discussing how cute her hair is looking this fine morning after her amazing workout, of course. So welcome, Rena. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. This is so exciting.
Yeah, so I know it's something we like to talk about a lot, just like overall health and fitness and overall. But before we get to the nitty gritty, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Rena.
Yeah, so I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I have been a social worker for like 11 years, which is crazy to think about. But over time, the nutrition piece has been really interesting to me. And so I've gotten certified in being a certified integrative mental health professional, which means that I have been trained and understand how nutrition impacts mental health. I've done a lot of my own research, and this is something that I think is so important for everybody to know, because there's so many things we can do with nutrition and our gut health to mitigate symptoms of depression, anxiety, ADHD, and even psychosis. There's so many things we can do before jumping to medications. And I do think medications have a place for sure.
Of course, yeah.
Obviously, I work in psychiatry, that is important, but I think there's a lot we can do before we go that route.
I love that. I love that for sure. Because I know many times doctors and health professionals tend to just give someone a pill and be like, okay, here you go, and don't really look at the rest of the thing. So I really love that, that outlook for sure.
Yeah.
So why exactly is gut health so important for overall well-being? We'll start with that.
So I'm pretty sure we've all heard, I have a gut feeling, right? Okay, so having a gut feeling is a thing for real. And it's a thing because we call the gut the second brain. So what goes on in our gut actually then translates into our mood and how we're able to think and feel. So I want you to think about like times that you've had more processed foods or junk foods that we would just classify as that. And then how do you feel afterwards, right? It's like, oh, I feel kind of tired after having like a pizza night with beer. Like, why do I feel so tired? And it's understanding that the way those things process in our body then affects our mood and how we operate. So similarly, the way we wouldn't put like a mix of oil and gas and water into like a beautiful Corvette or a Lamborghini, but we do that to our body and then expect our body to run optimally. It just doesn't really make sense.
I can totally understand that. So what do you feel are like the major factors that affect our health, mentally coming from our gut?
Yeah. So it really has to do with the science behind it. Like, let me just be clear. I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a dietitian. I am a social worker, and I just really love the understanding of how what we eat makes us feel, like what that connection is, and then how we can make ourselves, or we can utilize that to feel better. So with that being said, I want to make sure that that's clear. I am not a dietitian, but there are some things that I have learned that impact how our gut functions and how our brain works. So like, for example, probiotics are great. And as dietitians will share, there are different probiotics that are better for different people and for different needs. But in general, probiotics help with our digestive health. And if you've taken a probiotic before, or you've eaten things like sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, brined olives, or pickles, what happens is our digestive tract and our digestive process is better and more effective, which then means we're able to absorb the nutrients in our food better, and then it will impact our mental health. Like, duh, hello, we're all connected. Like, everything's connected, right? So I have found out through research and time, right, that different things like gluten is an inflammatory, right? So it can cause inflammation in our body, and then it can cause inflammation in our brain. Makes sense, right? So then if we limit some of that, or we limit sugar, like, when you see like parents, especially on like Halloween, Like kiddos will have like a ton of candy and then like, oh my God, they can't calm down. Well, yeah, because the sugar is causing that. But like, if we could just think about the havoc it's wreaking on our gut system, and then how that's then translating into what appears to be ADHD symptoms. But really, you might just need to like rein it back a little on the sugar and gluten.
I see that a lot, especially when I send over my nieces back to where they need to go. I'm like, here you go. So I can definitely understand that. So what are the biggest signs of an unhealthy gut overall that you have seen?
Yeah. So again, I'm not a dietitian, but I do know that if somebody is saying that they are feeling depressed, they're feeling sluggish, they have that, like we call it a beer belly, right? And that might be symptoms of having a high cortisol levels. That would be something you'd want to talk to your doctor about to see what could be going on. And everybody's so different. So it's really a matter of taking an individual approach and seeing what you can do to feel better. So the signs of that, like what I would recommend and what I always recommend is to keep a journal or a diary for like a week. What are you eating and how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 5? Like 1 being, I feel terrible, I need to sleep and I can't. And 5 being like, I feel incredible. And documenting exactly what you're eating and how you're feeling and what's going on in your life to then see, oh, well, when I had this really great salad with a ton of chicken and some brown rice, I felt amazing. And I had so much sustained energy and I was able to sleep. Whereas when I was out on a Saturday night and just went on like I made my weekend my weekend, right? Then I felt like not so hot the next day. And I was like hungover and felt like crap and couldn't function very well. Then once you see that on paper for yourself, you're able to say, you can make the connection for yourself and say, oh, well, if obviously this is connected. And then it could be causing like discomfort and bloating and a lot of gas and constipation, which all then goes back to mental health too. It's all connected. And that's like, you'll hear me say that like 10,000 times because it is all connected.
No, I love that for sure, especially the diary, writing down exactly what you're eating and how you feel. That's a big piece with my clients as well. We need to know how you're feeling and what you're actually putting in your body before even we get even into improving anything. But on that one, what steps, if say someone does know they have like a gut issue, what steps other than their doctor, obviously, should they look for and should, start going on?
Yeah. So I would say really looking at the foods that you're choosing to eat and then seeing, okay, if I remove this for a short period of time, like I'm totally not into removing food groups from your life. That's not my jam. But figuring out like, oh, okay, I'm going to take this out for a short period of time and see how I feel. So, okay. So this is kind of fun for me to tell you. So my husband, he actually, for a really long time, didn't know he was lactose intolerant, which as we know, it manifests in your gut, right?
Right.
So he didn't know, and he thought it was normal to feel bloated and to feel uncomfortable and to be gassy. So then I was like, I think we should try something. Like let's just humor me. So we took some of the dairy out for a short period of time. And he was like, wow, I feel so much better. Like I didn't know that was such an issue for so long. I thought that was normal. And a lot of times people think it is normal to be uncomfortable. And it's not. It's not normal. And that's not how your body should be functioning. So take something out just to see, how do you feel when that's not there? And similarly, something happened with eggs, right? So he was having digestive issues. And then of course it actually does translate into mood because then he was a little bit more cranky, constipated, and then like just uncomfortable, right? And then he stopped and he's like, wow, I feel so much better. That's actually a conversation we recently had. It's like, I feel so much better since I stopped incorporating eggs into my day. So that's what I would say where to start is to remove something if you suspect it could be causing some discomfort. See how you feel, track it again for another week or so, and then go from there. And you have to be your own investigator. You have to investigate yourself.
I really love that for sure. Because many times you have to be the first person to understand what's going on in your body overall, because doctor can't tell you that.
Right.
So the biggest piece of this, obviously, you go to your doctor, you're asking them all this information, and many times a doctor will actually be like, Rena, you look fine. Here's this pill, be on your way. And I'm sure you've heard from different people you work with where the doctor really doesn't want to help you investigate what's going on. What would you suggest for example, this person to actually get the gut health thing, the help they need to feel better?
Mm-hmm. So first, I would do your own inventory on your own body and see how you're feeling. It's an investment in time for sure.
Right.
Investing on how you're feeling, tracking what you're eating, not only for the sense of like, how do I feel when I'm eating certain things? And if you're able to do that yourself, awesome. A lot of times we need a little bit of assistance in that. And I would say, check in with a nutritionist, with a dietitian. Don't stop with one professional. Keep going and see what the different professionals are saying and how you can incorporate that with saying specifically, I would like to choose not to be on medications at first, and I would like to see what I can do naturally to feel better. That's what I would do, and I would recommend, because I think that there's not a one-stop shop.
No, definitely not. And I find that many times when I talk to women, they're like, well, my doctor really wasn't into doing this test or this thing. And it kind of like stonewalls them into like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I trust this doctor, but I can't do anything more with this particular doctor.
Right. Right.
So overall, what do you, and this is probably like an interesting, fun question, what do you feel like you wish you knew about your own gut health, after going through all your different experiences?
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely wish that I knew what I know now, like 10 years ago, for sure. But I think what is most interesting that I really wish everybody knew and was taught is how vitamins are necessary, right? And how like vitamins, I mean, in food, not just like supplementation, and making sure like when you eat, what you're actually putting in your body and how it actually affects you. That's what I wish that was a whole class. I wish we had that in high school, actually, because I think I think it would change a lot for a lot of people. I think there's so many people struggling with different components of mental illness that could be mitigated utilizing nutrition and paying attention to our gut health. So like knowing that a probiotic is important, right? Like knowing that like a bagel and cream cheese isn't necessarily the best breakfast choice because how it's going to wreak havoc on your gut, or how it could if you have that intolerance to gluten and you don't even know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I think really, that would be, yeah.
We definitely need like an adulting class to go over some of this stuff. There's definitely some gaps in the education system on these things.
Definitely.
Overall. And obviously, if you're not feeling well, there has to be a root cause. And if you're putting food in your body that your body doesn't want, or it's rejecting,
right?
Of course, you're going to feel like that.
Totally.
So let's just close this out like with what is one tip for someone that can take right now off of this recording that they can start doing for their gut right now?
Okay, so I'm actually going to give you two, I think.
All right.
There's a quote by a gentleman, Alan Aragon, that says this: every meal is a short-term investment in how you feel and perform, a midterm investment in how you look, and a long-term investment in your freedom from disease. So the one thing I would say is pay attention to what you're eating and be mindful. Be mindful. That's all. Like, that's it. Be mindful with what you're eating and how you feel. That's it. I think that's the biggest tip I can give when it comes to the beginning of looking at your gut health.
I love that. Steal that.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, there is, if you're on Instagram, there is a a lady, her name is the Gut Health Dietitian, and I can send you her handle. She is fantastic to follow in regards to gut health. And I think that looking into other professionals, like I mentioned, is so important. She has some great tips for gut health specifically. I think it's also really important to just take care of yourself and to know that like it's okay to ask for help. Like we don't have to know all the answers, and you can feel great because everybody deserves to feel great in their body.
No, 100% for sure. And I know you're on like the, you know, you see people every day at their worst. So this is like amazing you know, advice for sure. So how can people follow you if they want to know more of your awesome tips and wisdom and everything else?
Yeah, so I'm also on Instagram. My handle is Rena Litwin. It's really creative. My first name and last name. But that's where I am. That's where I do most of my posting. I am also on Facebook, but I've been posting a lot of reels specifically on mental health and nutrition and how it all goes together. So that's how, and if you click it in my bio, there's a link. So if you want to chat with me more, you can click in there and check out my links. And then there's like a quiz, not a quiz, like a questionnaire. So I can learn a little bit more about you and then we can go from there.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. I'll definitely get that information. I'll share it in the post if anyone wants to learn more about what Rena does overall and actually, you know, how to heal your gut and your mind all over together. Again, thank you, Rena. I appreciate you, and we will definitely see more of you in the future. Take care, ladies.
Thank you. See ya.